Howdy folks, this is a midweek shave for me, and shaving cream of the day. Make sure it's not upside down, huh? Nivea, and this is Sensitive. And I got some of it whipped up here with a aftershave brush. Got quite a bit actually. This particular knot is that knot that he refers to as a quarter moon. I've got it pretty much on the wet side of things. Got this in my wooden walnut bowl from the Distinctive Goat. Got my alum block ready to go. Humphrey's Witch Hazel. I'm going to follow up with some Floid Black. Glass container if you never had any. Should have some Floid, at least one. I got one at least. Plan on getting more at some point in time. And the shaver of the day is going to be Focus Slim. It's all aluminum. If I remember right, it weighs about a ½ ounce. It's very lightweight, it's well balanced. And I've got a feather blade, DE blade that was snapped in half. And this is one half of it, and the other half is in the Focus Dynamic single edge, and I'll shave with it tomorrow to see how it goes. I've already put a hot towel to the face and a little bit of bloom water. I did put some water in with the shaving cream, and comes right up without a problem. It has been a little while since I shaved with the Focus Slim. You can kind of tell if you've seen the front of it there. The mechanism is very close to being like what's on the Focus Dynamic. There's that loading mechanism right there. I'd say on the Focus Dynamic you might see some of that same kind of idea. Very easy to load. There was a video on how easy it was to load it. It's not a problem. One of the easier loading ones. I now have two kinds of Nivea shaving cream. Last time I did a video, it was with the blue one. I think it was Sensitive and moisturizing or something like that. Oh, sorry, mild shaving cream. Here's the box right here. This is what I shaved with last time. Now that's have to say that shaving cream was pretty nice. Got it on eBay. Matter of fact, that's about the only place I've been able to find at a reasonable price, I should say, is on eBay. And this is pretty creamy. I'd have to say maybe there might be a little bit of a difference in consistency in between the two, but as it goes for scent, like I say, outside from the natural ingredients, there's really not a scent to it. Go ahead and get ready for pass number one here. I would have to say shaving with the Slim is pretty easy to find the angle. They do a good job, I guess you might say, creating the bevel, if you will. The weight is evenly distributed. You don't really notice the one side being heavier than the other. Very lightweight. I know when I first started shaving with the shavette, I'd have to say believe it or not, the lightweight ones were the ones I had the most difficult time getting used to shaving with. I would say if I started with this one here, I'm not so sure I would have had quite the problem that I did before. I think a lot of it was needing to learn the technique, and I was still struggling with that. When I first started, I hadn't been wet shaving very long, so even creating a lather with different soaps and whatnot, I was still learning. That is one of the nice things about using a shavette, as you can tell right there. Um, you don't have to worry about the shaving cream building up. Really not going to clog up anything. There's a little bit of feedback with this feather blade in here, a little bit more than what I'm used to hearing. This is the part that right through there, for me it's best to use an angle, 45-degree angle, not to come at it at a 90, because of that crease right there. If I'm not careful, especially on this side, for whatever, I usually will, if I'm not paying close enough attention, I will catch that crease. Getting much better at it. Like I say, it's only once in a great while, but when I first started, that was one of my common places. It would be over here, here, and then right up there on across the grain paths when I was trying to learn how to do it. I'll do another video in case you're wondering. When you see this one here, I'll do a video probably on Friday on the Dynamic SE. Shaved with it 3 times so far, and by Friday that would be the 5th one. Again, I'll be able to give you a better idea of my thoughts, my experiences with it, with different blades, and it's been quite an experience. Be honest with you, that experience with the Dynamic is a lot like my experience with the Focus Slim. There's both of these razors are very lightweight. Like I said, this one here, if I remember right, is about a half an ounce. The Dynamic is I think just over an ounce, right at an ounce. Both of them are very light. For most practical purposes, you could say that they're all aluminum. The pivot pin in the Dynamic is stainless steel, so like I said, for most practical purposes, it's all aluminum. They're, in my opinion, very well made. Now, when you first get the Focus Slim, I will have to say that, you know, my first concern about it was the loading mechanism. When that first came out, I saw it and I was very concerned about that loading mechanism. I guess you might say being sloppy. Well, without a blade in it on the Slim, it is sloppy. But that's the way it's made because it doesn't have a blade. Once you put the blade in there, yeah, it's nice and tight, it's snug. And that mechanism, you know, stays put. But that was a real matter of fact, that was the reason why I didn't get it when it first came out. I wasn't too sure that that loading mechanism would stay put. And then I saw a few videos of it and saw that it was staying put without a problem. And the more I got to thinking about it, I figured out that my concern was unfounded, because once you put that blade in there, it takes that gap up, helps apply the tension that it needed to stay put. Pass number 2, guess the grain. Now when it comes to stretching, I'd have to say my idea behind the stretching is that it's up to each individual on how much stretching it needs to be done and where you stretch at. Your skin will be different than mine, hopefully. And plus, like I've mentioned before, my jawline is very round. I don't have a real pronounced jawline. So for those that have that pronounced jawline, you'll have to, you know, stretch your skin a particular way to help with that underneath part. Pull the skin up, you'll catch it, then when you let go, it puts it down, so now you pass that jawline. Plus with the against the grain pass and with the grain pass, you might be, as you can tell, I stretch differently. And that's just, you know, that's just for me. That's what works for me. For you, it could be somewhat different. I typically do a 2-pass shave. Sometimes I may do 2.5. The half part usually up here on the upper part of my face. In other words, not necessarily on the neck. And I only do that sometimes just every once in a while whenever I feel like I need it. With the way my pattern is, it's sometimes I don't get, it takes, you know, usually about the 3rd day I need to do a cross the grain pass in order to catch that growth that's kind of weird. And that one spot I mentioned on my neck, it may not show up, but I know the alum block's going to point it out for me though. If you did watch the last video, the weather that rolled through here, at my house, depending on how you want to say where the weather came through at, is about a mile. I thought it was 2 miles. It's about a mile away actually when you look at linear distance. right down there is a spot where it's the hair does grow at odd angles on the same patch, and sometimes if I work at it I can get the bulk of it where I don't have to do a cross the grain pass, but it is not the easiest to catch, to get lined out. That right there is a spot too. That is one thing. Some people are very lucky. They don't have the unusual growth pattern, and for me it's it's pretty strange. I think I might be alright. Might be able to get by. In other words, I don't strive for a baby smooth one, but I do want a, you know, a fairly close shave. And I think for the most part, yeah, even against the grain, for the most part, everything's smooth, or at least smooth enough, I would say. At least for me, for what I'm looking for. Let's see what the alum block has to say. Now if you notice some redness right here, for me that's typical. It just does that. Doesn't necessarily mean that the shave was rough, it just turns red. Like I say, sometimes it does it all its own, especially late in the evening. When I start to get, I guess you might say, a little bit tired, it'll turn red more than just right there at the sideburn area. And got some stinging here. Not as much down here as what I thought I was going to get, because sure enough I did catch myself right there. I did feel it. Pretty good. Thought there was going to be a little bit more stinging than that. Like I say, over I caught myself right there. Witch hazel. Oh, and by the way, this is the lilac one, and I guess you might say in some ways I'm quite impressed with this one because I actually can smell the lilac when I'm putting it on my face. I didn't think I'd be able to. That's a nice scent. It's floral, and I don't have anything. You know, it's a straightforward scent, so chances anybody having a scent quite like that would not be likely. Most of the soap scents nowadays are somewhat complex, if you will. My hands are wet now. There we go. I like these containers that Floid puts their aftershave in, and I guess you might say it has a natural restrictor. In other words, there's not a piece of plastic in there. Gonna be smelling good today. Yeah, I feel like I got a pretty good shave today. Feather blade worked just fine. I have to say that's one thing I noticed is that a feather blade, for all the attention that a feather blade gets, it works really well in this Focus Slim. And I'll see if it'll work for me, because once you use something like this, you've had any experience with this, you get soap in there, so there's no telling where that it creates a little bit of friction there, and I don't know. Usually I have no luck of doing this on camera, trying to get this to slide open, and I can't necessarily show you, but anyway, there I did get to slide open. And if it's one of those that has wax on it, it will, see, you can kind of tell it's pretty easy to load. Not a whole lot of effort to take the blade out. And Even with the feather blade though, most of the time I'm just going to use it one time, be a one and done. And the cleanup on this, with the coating it has on here, is really easy to clean up. Not all shavers are the easiest to clean if they got a lot of stuff where the blade goes in at, but this here is really easy to keep clean. Not much effort. Had a great shave. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe, and until next time, smooth shaves to you.